Hey, what's going on, everybody? I know I'm a little bit late than the anticipated time that I was supposed to actually get started, but make sure when you come in to the chat or into the room to hit the like button, and then I'm gonna get started. I might actually just go ahead and just start talking because this won't be a very long live stream today. You know, like some of them I give lengthy ones, but this one won't be as long. I actually put a time limit today on my live stream. I was supposed to get started at 11:30, but because I was a little bit behind on time, I'm getting started late. And usually I like to always be on time, but sometimes things happen. And if you are finding like a little bit of errors with your with the stream and you can't hear me or anything like that, or something's not functioning right, just make sure to refresh the page, which is what I just had to do now because for some reason it was stuck on 5 people watching, and then when I hit the refresh button, it jumped up to 18. So if it's something wrong on your end, make sure just to refresh the page. And like I said before, this live stream will not be as long as the other ones. I'm going to explain why. It's going to end at 1:30. So I'm going to get out everything that I need to talk about in this stream in an hour and a half. It was supposed to be 2.5 hours, but you know, shit happens. But I pretty much yesterday I had an early morning start and literally a late night ending. Like my day started at 2 in the morning. And I had to go because I had to cover somebody else's shift at my job. We actually switched shifts, and the reason being is because I got invited to a party that evening, and I really wanted to go to it. So we switched shifts. So I worked from 4 to 12, but I was up at 2, from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. Got off, came home, rested a little bit, and then I was back out of the house by 6 o'clock in the evening. And didn't get home to a little after 12 midnight. Then got up and went to the gym and worked out for maybe about an hour and came back home. And I did that, like, I got up at like 6:30. So literally I'm not running on much sleep. And then on top of that, I have to go to work tonight at my other job, and I'm going to need all my energy for that, which is why I'm only doing an hour and a half of this live stream today. You said what's my job? I work at an airport. That's just one of them. So you know around this time it's busy because of next week. Next week is going to be hell. Trust me. But before I really get into everything, I have to give a shout out to the Jedi. He is back on YouTube. I found out through Lisa Cabrera about an hour ago. She had posted up a video saying that he's back. Because I was wondering what had happened to him. I didn't hear from him in a while. Me and him used to stay in good contact, close contact with each other. And then it's like all of a sudden, like after a while, I just never seen any content from him. I'm like, wow, I know he wouldn't miss an opportunity to talk about certain things that's going on because I like to hear his level of expertise. And it was like he just kind of faded off, but now he's back. I actually saw the video from him this morning. I'm surprised some of y'all say y'all never heard of him because on my old channel, the one that had all those that had thousands of subscribers, I mentioned him quite a bit on that channel, and some of y'all were subscribed to me back then when I mentioned him. but he does give out really good content though. It's just that I didn't know what happened to him. I was getting kind of worried. Like what happened to him after a while. The LV, the one LVZ knows who he is. That's actually how I found out about him. Ashton Lewis, yes, I did hear that, and I do have a video coming up about that. But let's just go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste any time because, like I said, I'm only going to be on here for an hour and a half, so I can't really like lollygag today like I usually do sometimes on my other live streams. So as we all know, the biggest story, unfortunately, I don't even know why it became a big story, of the week would have to be about the whole Keaton Jones situation. When I first heard about it, I was actually at work. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, okay, who is this little Goonies looking kid who I said in my video looked like Jason Voorhees without the mask? I was like, who is this? And then I was like, I kind of put my phone away and just went back to work. And then that's when I got off and then started looking at it more and more. And I was like, oh, so he was a little boy that was bullied. Okay. Why are they making such a big deal of this? Is it because he's a little white boy? Whatever. And then when you kept doing more and more research about the situation, something just seemed real off. It seemed a little suspect. Like, why are they giving this so much attention? Like, what's so special about him where you had other kids who've been bullied and worse things have happened to them? And then, they started a GoFundMe. Him and his mother had raised like $60,000 through the GoFundMe. Then they halted the GoFundMe. And when GoFundMe halts your funds, that means that something is wrong with your campaign. Like something there does not seem right at all. So I was like, okay, why did they stop it? And then these images started to surface with her family holding the Confederate flag. One of the daughters was sitting there holding a gun. They looked like they straight out of Hicktown, like straight up hillbilly Hicks from some backwoods somewhere. Then you had all these celebrities donating to him and inviting him to premieres. I'm like, wow, y'all are going all out for this little boy and don't even know the entire story. When it really all came out that he was the one going around calling kids the N-word and whatnot, and those kids clapped back on his ass. And that's why he was up there crying. And I'm like, why, if your child is being bullied, why is the first thing you want to do is take out your camera and put it in his face and then have him crying, probably on cue, to the world for sympathy? That's a personal matter. You should be dealing with that in-house. No one needs to know about that stuff going on. That's just like when I be seeing those parents be recording themselves giving their kids whoopings and stuff. Like, don't put that on the internet. The world doesn't need to see that. And then when it all came out about his dad, and his dad was a staunch white supremacist who was a part of white supremacist groups, who was also in jail for criminal activity. Now, it's amazing that TMZ was the source that was probably the first source to report that. Not MSNBC, not CNN, not any of those other mainstream media markets. TMZ, as trash as they are. That's how I found out about it. Well, someone sent it to me, but the link came from TMZ. And then his mother up there trying to make all types of shit like excuses. I'm like, you laid down with this man and created this, whatever this thing is, because I don't think Keaton Jones is human. He doesn't look it. He looked like he came out of a factory somewhere. I don't know. But you laid down and you had a child with this man and then try to claim you're not racist, but then your Facebook post shows what you really are when you was talking ill about the protests. We know it on the NFL. But she basically used her child as a pawn to get money. Now, a lot of people were saying that Oh, so she was collecting money because she may have been trying to put books on the man she was sleeping with, or she was using that money to try to get her kids Christmas presents. Alan Freeman said, "Does this make me feel some type of way about black celebs?" Yes, it does. And I called them out on it. Like when I did that video about Imani McCrae, the young girl who killed herself. I said, where's her GoFundMe so her parents could pay for, funeral arrangements, because funerals are expensive. And she was bullied. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. We don't know what the motive was. In her case, Ashanti Davis was bullied. Now, it's funny because Ashanti Davis, her case came out back in November, at the end of November, and this Keaton Jones, his came out like 2 weeks later, but you heard more about him than you heard about her. And that's why I did that video about suicide in the black community, the silent killer one. And shout out to the people that gave good responses, gave a good response to that video. I literally sat up late at night putting that video together. Like I said, I have to put it out there because someone had mentioned something about black people don't really do things like this. I said, okay, I see a lot of black people say that about black people is committing suicide. I need to do a video about that and show you examples of people who committed suicide, whether you knew about them or you didn't know about them, because black people do have issues that, like I said, after all the things black people have gone through in this establishment, then and now currently in the present day, we are the main ones who need all the kind of psychological help that we can possibly get. However, we need to make sure we're getting it from the right people. But see, our society, the black society, the black community is so messed up right now. It's almost impossible because you might end up trying to get help from a person who needs help themselves. I think it's the thing because for so long, suicide was always seen as a white people thing. So when black people do it, it's such a shock. Just like when the DC sniper thing happened, it was such a shock to the world at large that it was two white, it was two black men and not two white guys, because it's not common. But you will be surprised where suicide lies as far as the black community goes, and people commit suicide for a multitude of things. It's not just because they want to end their life or they're crazy. They might be going through some deep rooted issues that they feel they can't talk to anybody about because they're get passed off as crazy. When you tell someone that they're crazy all the time, that sometimes that fucks with their head, because then they'll start to actually believe that they are crazy. Because then when you tell them that enough, and then you go out and start telling other people that, then and you not have other people against them, then it's like, who can be on my side? Thank you, Alan Freeman, for the donation. Whenever there's a shooting involving black people, and I'm not talking about black people getting shot, but like the DC snipers or with Micah Johnson or Gavin Long or Christopher Dorner, those will shock the establishment in society, because the dominant society knows who the main mass shooters are. They know it's mostly white men. So when a black person does it, it shocks the world. Sometimes to the point where it shocks us, because we don't expect it, because we know we don't do that on a regular basis. It shocks them because they know who it comes from the most, but they have to try to play up that game of being naive and don't know what the hell is going on, and they have to focus so much on so-called black on black crime in Chicago this and 13% that, and the usual rhetoric that they come up with. They have to play mental tricks with themselves to convince themselves that they don't have a problem. Usually when white people commit crimes such as that on that scale, they're doing it for the thrill of the kill. When black people do something like that, they usually have a purpose or a reasoning behind it. Christopher Dorner, Micah Johnson, Gavin Long all had the same agenda in mind. They knew that these cops were getting away with too much involving black people, and they had to do something about it. Every last one of them pretty much had the same mission statement. White people, what is the mission? What's the purpose for shooting up a school? What is the purpose for shooting up a music festival or a movie theater or a clinic, Planned Parenthood? What is their purpose for that? None. See, like I said, when it comes to us, and if we do something like that, it usually always goes back to that one thing. Theirs is like, you never know. Like I said, Thriller to Kill. Right, or a playground. Anywhere where there is a mass amount of people where they can wreak havoc. A lot of them take stuff that are fantasy and try their best to bring it into reality. And in most cases do. But they will be the one that will always get hit with the mental illness card at the end of the day. They will always question their level of sanity. But when it comes to a black person, oh, they knew what they were doing. If a black person do it, they'll be quick to throw them into Black Lives Matter as well. Notice that when Michael Johnson did what he did, he had to come out and say in his manifesto that he was not a part of Black Lives Matter. And I'm glad he said that, because he knew that if he died or if he ended up dead, that's exactly what they were going to do. And he was right, because that's exactly what they tried to do. That it was a member of Black Lives Matter that did this. The same thing with Darren Seals. He had to let them know he was not a part of Black Lives Matter. But when he got killed, and I truly believe it was a hit, they immediately said that he was a part of Black Lives Matter. We could use the mental illness card, but see, the thing is, they created mental illness for themselves and themselves alone. Remember, we were tested on with no type of anesthesia or any type of meds or anything to not make us not feel pain, because they said we had, our bodies were made to endure pain. So if they are saying by default that white people, for the most part, whenever they commit a crime like this, have mental illness by default, wouldn't that mean that they are just naturally psychotic and don't need to be out in open society? I mean, that's what I gather. Because I would not want to put somebody out there in the open world who look like they just escaped from Arkham Asylum from Batman. All right, I want to talk about this Alabama election, and I feel like there's so much to cover in just with this election alone. So, as we all know, Roy Moore lost the election for the Senate seat against Doug Jones, and it wasn't by a landslide. I'm not sure what the exact figure was, but I know it was very close. It was a close race, and they said that this is the first Democrat to hold that position for that state since the 90s. They said it's been about a little over 2 decades since a Democrat held that position. Now, I watched a video that Professor Black Truth did a few days ago. I think it was maybe the day after the election, and it made a whole bunch of sense. And I was looking at various things about how everything came about and the breakdown. Excuse me. They said 92% of black men, Nubian CEO, you said food stamps is getting cut off. What are my thoughts? oh, it's going to be a lot of upset white people because they're the majority owner, they're the majority beneficiaries of food stamps. A lot of people think that black people should be very upset if food stamps get cut off. It's not going to be us that's going to be that mad or upset, except for the ones who are on it. But it's the majority of white people who are. Do you know how many non-poor white people use government assistance? You'll be surprised. Some of the wealthiest people use government assistance. But back to what I was saying. 92% of black men voted for for Doug Jones. 97% of black women voted for Doug Jones. What I despise is that the lamestream media is literally making it seem like it is literally only the black women who pushed him into winning. I'm like 92% and 97% is not even a huge margin. It's only a 5% gap. And that's a very, very small gap. Imagine jumping over a crack in the street to get to the other side, and the crack is like as long as my arm and probably about as wide as a water bottle. So a lot of people, while they are celebrating and and the thing is, because they hashtag black women on there, and that's what something that Professor Black Truth brought up in his video. I don't know if y'all had a chance to see it. He said, whenever lamestream media props up certain people in the black community that they've talked shit about for so long, you have to worry, what is their agenda? They said lamestream media never really props up black women like that in a very positive light. But now they are doing it with this. So they're trying to make it seem like it was black women that saved America. And I said this under his, in response to his tweet. I said, if Doug Jones fails in his position, guess who's going to catch all the blame? Black women. And they are probably banking that Doug Jones fails just so they can catch the blame. I saw that instantly. And shout out to it was somebody else who I think spoke about this. So I think it was Nicole from Nicolesville. Maybe it was Lisa. I'm not sure. No, it was True Royal Family. True Royal Family, I believe, did a video about it too. And also, it said that when they were doing the stats as far as who voted for Roy Moore, they said 63%. Shout out, thank you, Anna A. 63% of white women voted for Roy Moore. 72% of white men voted for Roy Moore. You see how close that gap? That's only a 9% gap. Almost as many women voted for Roy Moore than men. Almost. Now, what does that stat look like? Doesn't that look like a stat that came out last year when you had the presidential election, where pretty much almost that same amount of women voted for Donald Trump? Now, mind you, he said, grab them by the pussy. All this stuff come out about Roy Moore, and they still voted for him. So, in a way, would you say that white women love pedophiles? Oh, I'm gonna get on his Marcel. I'm gonna talk about him in this same context because what he did was some grimy shit too. Exactly. They really don't mind because they are being on code with their men. Only 30-something% of white women voted for Doug Jones. All I'm gonna say is y'all better pay attention. And like True Royal Family said in her video, we're gonna see where Doug Jones is as far as his policies in 6 months. All right, I'm gonna get off of this election and move on to this net neutrality thing. Now, I know I never did a video speaking on net neutrality because I had to do some very extensive research as to what it was. This is a big deal. It is a really, really big deal. Imagine you having to pay extra money just to use something that you've always been using for free, and it possibly might have a time limit on it. Like, just imagine I would have to probably pay money just to upload a YouTube video, and then it might take forever to upload. We might as well just go back to the Stone Age or live like the goddamn Amish if they're going to do that. So basically, I want to get it correctly. They passed the repeal for net neutrality in a vote of 3-2, which means now it is moving on up to Congress. If Congress gives like that same kind of vote by January, I believe, it's going to be looking pretty, how can I say, disturbing. It's going to affect a lot of things. Like anything that has to use the internet is going to be affected. That includes Netflix and Hulu. Like any type of streaming service that you need the internet for, it's going to affect that. It's because they see that the internet is what you can say, I guess, a prize bull, a prize possession that they can make money off of. That's why that's why I always refer to the US as an establishment and never as a country, because it has always and will always be ran as a business. Oh yeah, it's definitely going to affect the people's business. It's going to affect the jobs. It's going to affect everything. It's going to affect everything if this goes through. And from what I heard, the FCC, is it the FCC or the FTC? I think it's the FCC. I think they operate outside of Congress, which means if Congress doesn't give them the vote that they want, they can override that and still do it. I'm like, well, damn it, if that's the point, then why did you have to go through all this other stuff? I guess because they wanted to go the legal way. Thank you, Lisa, the FCC. And I said before in old videos, we live in a very PC generation. That's why I miss the 90s and early 2000s. You could say what the hell you wanted without fear of retribution. Text war, I don't know how it's going to affect other countries, but for right now, I think America, US is like public enemy number one or public target number one. it's gonna be interesting to see where they go with it, because I don't know if the world is I don't know if we are truly ready for it. But we'll see. Mona Day said, why do I think they're doing this? To control everything. They want to control. It's all a controlling thing. Like I said, we live in an establishment, not a country. That's why I call it that. I call it the establishment. The United States of America Incorporated. First, I'm just reading the comments, and I found it very interesting that pretty much everyone is saying the same thing. Is because they want to silence us, and because a lot of black people are figuring out the grand scheme of things, which is definitely true. It's funny, they can talk shit about the so-called 13% of the population, but they are so threatened by that 13%, that so-called 13%. Isn't that amazing? I'm like, if you are so-called supreme and you have all this power, why are you worried about the peasants? That's because they are so worried about us. That goes back into a video that I recently did yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, where I was showing y'all a series of tweets where the hashtag Black Thought was trending, and they were talking about the rapper from the group The Roots. But white people got so upset and irate because they thought it was talking about black people's thoughts. They were like, well, what if we had a white thoughts? So-called high IQ. When I was reading that, all I could do was shake my head and laugh at the same time. All right, I'm gonna talk about the next topic, which I'm very sure many of you wanted me to speak on, what I already did speak on, and that is Omarosa, or someone called Omaroast her. But as we all know, Omarosa has gotten the boot from the White House She's gone, most likely will not be returning. So what's going on, True Royal family? So she is out of there. We kind of figured she was going to be on her way out. We just didn't know when or how or why. But sometimes that really isn't important. But she's just gone. And she was given the boot by John Kelly. Not 45 himself, but John, excuse me, but John Kelly. And when I was reading articles from months ago, I kind of knew that she would be on her way out because her and John Kelly, from what I read, they could never get along. Like they always bumped heads. He always felt that she was a threat to Donald Trump, or maybe he felt that she was a little bit too close for comfort and he couldn't deal with that. So he had to find a way to get her up out of there. Now it was conflicting stories. One story says she resigned. The other story says she was fired. I believe the story that says she was fired. And they said she tried to run up back into the White House and they had to escort her out, put escort in quotations, because she was out there kicking and screaming and making all kinds of noises and whatnot. Like she just would not leave gracefully. But then again, I've never seen her as a graceful and classy person. To me, she's always been a very, I would say, confrontational. But like True Royal Family said in her video, Omarosa, while we don't really like her or care for her, she's smart. Something tells me she's going to write a book. And in that book, she's going to be revealing a lot of shit that probably went on in that White House that we didn't know about. Now, this part involving Omarosa is going to piggyback off of what Mr. Superboy, True Royal Family, and Nicole spoke on in their videos, and they pretty much all brought up very good, valid points. While we all know that Omarosa, as we all know, we're glad that she's out of there. The getting on these white media circuits and platforms and saying what people were saying about her, preferably black women were saying, that was a little bit off code, because you got on these white platforms and you bashed the woman in front of other white people, and what it'll play out to look like is that black women are very catty with each other. If you were going to talk bad about Omarosa, that should have stayed in-house. Like, let that be in-house conversation. If they ask you what you thought about Omarosa, you didn't have to go out there and like what Robin Roberts did and say bye Felicia, or do what Angela Rye did on CNN, or any of those other situations. Like I said, I don't mind the fact that they blasted her. It's the fact of where they did it. It's not like we have our own black-owned media platform. If they wanted to blast her on that, then hey, that's on our platform. But you're doing it on this so-called liberal media. The best thing, though, is that no one blasted her over on Fox News. And have y'all noticed that they did not get any black person on Fox News to speak on Omarosa being fired? And if they did, I wonder if they would have put her on blast over there. But you had CNN and I think MSNBC or ABC or anywhere else where these are the so-called liberal media markets where they did do that. And you know why she blasted the black community on white mainstream media? Because someone just said it. Someone said it. Text where he said, let's be clear. If it was the other way around, white people would code up pre. We don't have a code. We all know Omarosa has cooned her way through a vast portion of her career. We expect that from her. We expect that. But we were talking about the other one, well, with the exception of Robin Roberts, because we know how she gets down with the whole Nate Parker thing and the Chris Brown thing. We already know what she's on. But see, this is the thing. When that kind of thing happens, it sends a trigger off into white people's minds that, oh, we can find a weak spot very fast. Now we know how to get them. So let's see if we can find anybody else we can get out of there so we can have them be put on, so we can get them up out of there and have them come back on and put them on blast again. In other words, they need something to entertain them. So seeing them get on those platforms and blast Omarosa like that, even though Omarosa was well deserved of it, they see that as a joke to them. They need laughter. They want to laugh. They see a lot of black people as nothing but court gestures and nothing but to laugh at, almost as like modern day minstrel shows. And what's so sad is it's so easy for them to trigger us to do it. That's the saddest part. It's too easy. Now, I wonder how long they are going to talk about this. Because, you know, some stories are what you call here today, gone tomorrow. If they are still talking about Omarosa being fired throughout the rest of this year, then that is kind of like, that's kind of wild. That they actually are literally hanging on to this woman who at the end of the day, even though she probably disassociated herself from us, is still black. Why are they still hanging on to the fact that she got fired? Would they hang on to Sean Spicer like that? If Kellyanne Con Artist happens to get fired, which I hope she's gone in a few, if she gets fired, will they still hang on to that? And I wonder, Sean Spicer, when he got fired, did white people go and blast him on those media platforms? Even though he sat up there and lied his ass off since the day he got that position. Because I don't remember it. Of course, we talked about it, but we didn't even talk about it that much. I probably made like one video about it and that was it. And truth be told, the reason why those mainstream medias are doing it is because of they need, someone said the viewership, they need ratings, and truth be told, they don't like her either. Right, Lord E. He got embraced. He ended up on talk shows. He ended up on award shows and everything. I think he even had a skit on Saturday Night Live. I wonder, will they is is Omarosa going to get that? I doubt it. What's going on, Julius and BO9263? Exactly, Marcel. Like all she had was a title, and I was still trying to figure out what that title is. Like she was the leader of the African American Outreach Program. Like, what is that? That sounds like something that they just came up off the top of their heads and say, "Here's your title. You know, here's something that you can wear as a name tag while you're here. That way, it doesn't seem like you're just here." Oh, if Omarosa appeared at the Image Awards, they would turn her around at the door. Thank you, Black Rage, for the donation. Yeah, when she said that bow down thing with Donald Trump in that video and that over dramatic music, that really made me like look at her like, did she really just say that? Did she, as a black woman, just tell the American people to bow down to this guy? Like he's some kind of king? She might as well have gone full British with it and said, if not, it's off with your head. She didn't do anything. Like I said, all she had was a title. I even said it in my video, or not, maybe not my video, but maybe in a tweet, that she lives for titles. I remember somebody saying that this is the second time in her life where she's gotten fired under something that had Trump's name to it. First, she got fired on The Apprentice. Now she's fired from the cabinet. What's going on, Simply Deep? Julius, when he says, what do you make of her civil war amongst black women comment? I'm trying to figure out, when did she say that? Okay, I'm looking up this quote that she said, and she said Omarosa calls Robin Roberts petty and declares black woman civil war. She declared it on against Robin Roberts. Imagine that, Coonette versus Coonette. When she says declaring the civil war, she's making it seem like she's gonna walk right up into that Good Morning America set and try to put Robin Roberts in her place. Now, could you imagine seeing that? I know, and I saw the video that Mr. Boy did about that, and he was right in every assessment that every point that he made about it. Robin Roberts is the last person to be calling out anybody. The only reason people really take pity on Robin Roberts is because she's a cancer survivor. Marcel Robin is a man, so he'll probably drop her. I wanted to talk a little bit about that little girl that was arrested and held at gunpoint. I want to get off Omarosa right now. I wanted to talk about that little girl that was arrested at gunpoint, and I did a video about her. That's 11 years old, and they were looking for her 40-year-old aunt, who, by the way, is white. And when I saw her picture, I was like, okay. So I'm guessing they probably think that she was an accessory to a crime. I couldn't even bring myself to watch the actual video where the girl was actually being arrested. All I could do was listen to the news clip, and I was good on that. But yeah, they came to her house and put this girl in handcuffs. All I saw was the images. I didn't want to look at the video because I couldn't bear to hear that little girl scream. I just cannot stand the sounds of children screaming out in pain. I can't. Like it does something to me. I don't know what happened to the cop. You're not giving too much detail. I don't even think they gave the cop's name. All we know is the girl's name, her mother's name, and her aunt's name. We don't know anything else about that cop because most likely he's given protection. Lord E, the girl is actually black. Somebody said that the girl is black, the mom is mixed black, which means her mom is white, and her dad is black, which means that the mom must have had her with a black man, and then that's created her. Trust me, she ain't white. Exactly, Julius. No celebrities reached out to her, and they most likely won't. And guess what? Her incident was on tape. It was caught on not the dash cam, the body cam. It's right there. There's video, y'all. They say that we don't believe it unless it's on tape. There it is. They got the actual physical assault, and they have the actual news story. And then the girl said that when she grew up, she wanted to actually have a career path in law enforcement, but after the way she was treated, she was like, F it. No, I don't want no parts of it. I don't blame her. That's because a lot of these celebrities only react when they are told to react. They were told to react to that Keaton Jones without knowing all of the facts. It took a white MMA fighter by the name of Joe Schilling to expose Kimberly Jones. Because she basically tried to get him to say, oh, well, since we are white, we got to stick together and whatnot. The fact that she even said that lets you know what tip she was on. But he wasn't about to be on cold. He went off cold and put her on blast. Troy, you had me cracking up in your video yesterday when you was talking about Kimberly Jones. You had me in tears talking about her. Did y'all hear about the Saints fan who tried to sue the team because of the protesting? He said it ruined his gaming experience to see them protesting police brutality and racial inequality on the field, that he wants to sue an entire NFL team for ruining his gaming experience. Talk about being extremely selfish. I'm guessing he must have been a season ticket holder of some sort, and now I don't know. Like, that's a baseless lawsuit right there. They're going to take one look at that, laugh, throw it back in his face, and say, next case. When I read that, I wanted that so badly to be untrue. But indeed, it was true. He was like, I didn't pay all this money to come and see them protest racial inequality, and police brutality. I came to watch the game, even though what he's seeing when they do that, it only lasts for about, what, 2 minutes? Over a game that probably lasts about 3 hours. He was that hurt over something that lasts like 2 minutes. And speaking of the NFL, some arenas, or stadiums, I should say, have reduced the cost of their tickets down to $2. $2. Now, where their seats are going to be at, I have no clue. But $2, they said that is the lowest that those tickets have ever been. I would say that it's working. But like I said, I can't wait to see what the ratings are going to be for the Super Bowl. As we all know, that's the big game. That's what I can't wait to see. And I will be sure that when those ratings come out, you will be hearing from me. Because I'm almost certain that they're going to be extremely low. But I'm still curious as to where they're going to be at. Like for $2, where do you sit at for $2? Do you even sit? You probably got to stand somewhere. And True Royal, is ironic that you put toilet seats there, because I wonder if they might have to stand in the restroom or stand outside or something and just look at a monitor. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about this. Speaking of people collecting karma checks, Hannibal Buress got arrested in Florida for being real quote unquote niggerish to cops. That put a smile on my face. I don't care if he got bail. Now, there was a video attached to it where it actually showed him being belligerent to him. And the only people that was coming out to try to be in his defense was white people, because I was looking at the tweets. People were saying, why do they have to do that to Hannibal like that? Free Hannibal. They actually created a hashtag, Free Hannibal. And it's amazing how he is a black guy and he's getting into it with the cops, and white people are saying Free Hannibal. But when it's a regular black person getting into it with the cops, oh, they must have did it. Or Blue Lives Matter. I swear. But because he's operating in their interests, of course they're going to come to his defense. And like I said, I never thought that Hannibal Buress was funny. He's white people funny, which to me means he's corny. And after what he did to Bill Cosby and how he threw Cosby under the bus, I really don't care for him. So while this might be the tip of the iceberg for his karma, expect more to come. Exactly, for Spider-Man. I saw Spider-Man Homecoming. Hannibal Buress was not in the movie that long. He only had like 2 scenes, and he played the coach. He played a gym coach. As fat as he is and out of shape as he is, he played a coach. a gym teacher. I can understand why you don't remember, because if you blinked, you would have missed him. That's how small his part was. I'm gonna ask y'all, what else is going on for me to talk about, because I pretty much ran out of topics to discuss. There's some other things I want to talk about, but I want to put it in video format before I speak on it on the live stream. You said, text for, you said, did I see Star Wars? I saw it. It was okay. It wasn't nothing to run home about, which is why I didn't do a review on it. Did I hear about a cop that killed me? That killed a white person in Arizona. No, I didn't hear about that. Is this different from... Oh, wait a minute. I did hear about that. Yeah, I did. I spoke about that. I had to think about that. That was the guy who was in the hotel, right? Oh, True Royal fan, you said that white woman I did a video about today? Okay. I'll talk about that. So I did a video today about this woman by the name of Andrea Ramsey. She was running for a congressional seat in the state of Kansas. And these allegations of sexual assault came back up against her. So now it's shifting. You have a guy accusing her of sexual assault. So basically back in 2005, it's alleged that she sexually assaulted a guy who used to work with her. And because he did not give into her advances, she fired him. Now, here in 2017, these allegations came back up. They resurfaced. And now she has dropped out of the race. Like, she's not running anymore. Which leads me to believe that either she did it or to save face, they say, you know, it's best to just concede and just drop out. My best bet is that she probably did do it. I wouldn't put it past her. But the thing is, who knows what the lamestream media is going to do with this, because it's not really making any rounds. Now, if this was a guy that did this, oh, it would have been everywhere. Text voice said, heard about Jay-Z and Zimmerman. Yes, I did hear about him. If y'all don't know what he's talking about, George Killerman, as I call him, had made some threats towards Jay-Z because they're working on a documentary about Trayvon Martin, and they said his production team is going around talking to his family members and stuff like that. And he said, George Zimmerman said he's going to, quote unquote, beat up Jay-Z and then feed him to the alligators. I want y'all to listen to the symbolism right there. He said he's going to feed a black man to alligators. What does that remind you of? Gator bait on gator bait. Whenever they would try to fish the gators out of water, they would use black babies in order to get them there. And most of the time, 99% of the time, the gator ate the child. because they needed bait to get the gator out of the water so they can use the gator as food. You want to know how much protection George Zimmerman truly has? You're talking about a guy who, first off, he beat this murder trial. That's bad enough. He had an encounter with not one but two white men, when one of the white men ended up going to jail for just attempting to assault him. It is a white guy in jail right now for 20 years. 20 years. It's probably less than that now, but he probably has about another 19 or 18 to go for attempting to kill George Zimmerman, or at least do heavy bodily damage to him, harm to him. Y'all, some people forget that George Zimmerman, dad, is a judge. He has family members who has connections to the court system. This man has gotten away with a lot of stuff before what happened with Trayvon Martin involving family members, which is probably why he's mad at Jay-Z right now, because they're probably going to expose some stuff about him that you didn't already know. Text war, yes, I'm sure. It is a white guy in jail right now because he attempted to do bodily damage to George Zimmerman. Shuroy, you said, did I hear about that running back, Rodney Anderson? Yes, I did. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to talk about that now in the live stream, or do I, because I already recorded the video. I haven't uploaded it yet, giving my thoughts about that. Listen, when I tell you, okay, a lot of people saying all the black people in Florida and Georgia ain't dead yet. What part of he has protection from the courts do you not understand? When you have protection from the courts, that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And besides, I don't know if George Zimmerman is just walking around freely, at least not anymore after the encounters he's recently had, like in the last couple of years, from other white people. Because now he realizes he doesn't have any fans anymore. From nobody. Nobody likes this guy. So at this point, it would behoove him to go outside in public, because he already knows he can catch the fade from anybody. But the fact that a white guy is in jail because he tried to do bodily harm to him, imagine what they'll do to a black person. And like I said, that white guy is in jail for 20 years. The only way that George Zimmerman would ever really got dealt with is if he got convicted. I mean, think about it. When's the last time you heard from Darren Wilson? When's the last time you heard from Darren Wilson? You probably won't hear about him again because he has protection. The punching one or whatever, that was a different case. Oh, don't worry. George Zimmerman is going to slip up, though. And we're going to least expect. And the thing is, he's going to slip up, and it's going to be, and whatever happens to him, we won't expect it at all. And it's probably going to happen in a way that we did not expect for it to happen. Exactly. He's in hiding just like that chick. What's her name? Casey Anthony. Shoot, they might be hiding out together. let's just put it this way. Y'all know how Assad Shakur is in Cuba right now. She has diplomatic immunity right now. I'm sorry, diplomatic asylum. And you know how they keep trying to go over there and get her and whatnot, but they don't have any luck. And she's been over there for how many years? That's almost like that's almost the tip that George Zimmerman is on, except he's still in the States. Thanks, Joe Johnson, for the donation. Black Rage, that's possibly true. Like I said, George Zimmerman has ties to a lot of people in this court system. Julius Williams, oh, I've been talked about that. And I was expecting it to happen. I talked about that when it first happened, like about 2 weeks ago. Okay, if y'all don't know the story that True Royal Family is talking about, and I do have a video about it. This football player who was black by the name of Rodney Anderson was accused of rape by this white chick by the name of Courtney Jean Thornton. All because he would not accept her advances, or he wouldn't be her boyfriend or something like that. It's a crazy story, but it's typical of the Caucus thing female. So because he didn't go toward her or something like that, she accused him of raping her. They ended up dropping the charges. But my question is, what's going to happen to her? I think it's a crime when you accuse somebody of rape and it's not true. And it takes me back to that Emily Linden chick, when she said that even if a woman lies about rape and it ruins the reputation of a man, so be it. Who cares? That's basically what she said. Oh yeah, I remember what happened with Odell Beckham and that ugly Lena Dunham, or Dumb Ham, when they was at that when they was at that event, and she was trying to make some kind of pass towards him or whatever, and he kind of looked at her funny and was like, who is she? And I said, it's probably because of how she looked. Lena Dunham, when I remember it vividly, when I look at that picture, she was dressed in a daggone tux. He probably thought she was a man. And she probably was like, oh, I know who you are. You should know who I am. I swear the entitlement is real with her. Amber Phillips. I already went in on her. But somebody informed me that recently Roland Martin just had her back on his show after what she said last week. I said, okay, well, now you really deserve your show to be canned because you keep bringing that chick back on. Yes, that's the same chick that who molested her sister. And she wrote about it in her book, and she still has a career. And so the thing is, it has gotten to the point where now white women can create an imaginary black man in their head and say a black man did something to them, and they will go out and try to find the first black man that they could find that fits a description that she gave, and boom, that's it. I don't even know why she was there. I don't even know what she was talking about, but I said he must love the abuse. I mean, this woman just tried 2 weeks ago, or was it last week or whenever, tried to defame your character by saying all men have at some point, especially black men, at some point in their life have raped or sexually molested a woman. And you bring her back on? Why? Yeah, Amber Phillips, she's the type of chick, she needs to be humbled like in fast because she is wicked. As Shura family says, she is wicked to the core.
Supremacy left and right. You're just using the liberal definition.
I'm trying to think, is there anything else to talk about? Oh, yeah. There's something else. So, as y'all know, Nelly was one of the people that was caught up in the big accusations and whatnot of someone saying that he sexually assaulted him and whatnot. Well, the prosecutors for that particular case, ironically, dropped the charges against Nelly, every last charge against him, the minute he decides that he wants to ask for the accuser to come forward. Now, notice, and the accuser never came forward, and then almost right after, the prosecutors dropped the charges. I knew from the very beginning that person was lying. But now Nelly is doubling down because he now wants to take legal action against the prosecutors because he knew that the prosecutors was lying. It was all a money grab. That's why I always say, we all know that this is a crime for people who can go to jail for raping somebody. But the thing is, now you got to question, they're doing this as a trend or a money grab or a come up or just some immediate attention. I'm glad that he's going to take legal action, and he should, because his reputation is on the line over a lie. But people like that Emily Linden don't care, because remember, she said, even if it ruins their reputation, so be it. That will forever stay in my head. He said Tavis Smiley said he's fighting it. Okay, good, because Tavis Smiley, he ended up losing his show fast. And notice that with all these accusations, and they're just accusations that come out, the minute that they say, oh, you did this, that, and the third to this person, oh, we're taking away your livelihood. Like they literally took away Tavis Smiley's PBS show like in the same exact week that he got accused of these sexual assault allegations. I think probably within the first couple of days, probably not even the first whole week. Tasteful, who are you talking about? Exactly, Ariana. She said, unless you're a black woman, white women and feminists didn't come to support Lupita or Aurora. Now, that whole thing with Aurora, that was really messed up, but it wasn't surprising either. Because I know Mrs. Zuboy talked about this. That daggone Lena Dunham, literally jumped from being a so-called feminist to jumping into her true self, and in her next stage, her next form of being a beast, and immediately came to the defense of the man that Aurora was accusing of molesting her. And the difference between her and those other women is she came out immediately. She didn't wait. That's just like with that Lisa Bloom. She only takes opportunity, just like her mother, Gloria Allbad, to go after black men. But the minute they have with a white man, she wants to jump to the defense of Harvey Weinstein. And notice hardly nobody talks about that anymore. I want to know, how many of those cases does Lisa Bloom and Gloria Allbad have going on right now that are still ongoing that they have not yet done anything with? I think those two are actresses. I'm convinced they're actresses. I see somebody said when they hate being ignored. That, oh yeah, most definitely. A lot of white people, especially white women, hate being ignored. I mean, to be honest, no one likes being ignored, but they turn venomous when they're ignored. But one last thing I wanted to talk about before I end the stream, because it's only about 8 minutes left, is I have to give a huge shout out to a positive story that I actually showed in the form of a video yesterday about that black teen by the name of Ayrton Little. I hope I'm not butchering his name. He was the 16-year-old who was accepted into Harvard University. And like I said, it was more so for me about the support that he received from his peers. Like when y'all saw, I'm sure y'all saw the video. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that was just amazing to look at, just to see how much love and support that he received from all of his peers. And pretty much all of his peers in that video were all black. Somebody was giving me a little backstory of the school. They said it's some kind of academy or school that's in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, because it's in the comment section, so I can't exactly just go and just find it and pull it up. But I said I needed to see that because we get so bombarded with negative images of us that when we see something like this, it's just a breath of fresh air. It's refreshing to see and watch. Exactly. Everyone was excited. You would have thought that everybody in that room had got accepted into Harvard the way they reacted. I hope he is too, because getting into a school like getting into an Ivy League school like that, that's not easy, especially if you're black. That's why I like to do a positive video, a story every now and then to keep like Tex Force said, to keep balance. Marcel, you said he should have went to Howard and been around his people. I got a question. Who's to say he didn't apply to Howard? But here's the thing. Who was going, how can I put this? If Howard wasn't willing to give him the money or the proper like scholarship, which I don't know, I'm not going to go to a school that's going to make me pay a loan. I'm going to go to the school that's going to give me the full ride, and I'm not paying a dime. Because loans, if y'all don't know, is the only form of debt that cannot be claimed in bankruptcy. But I don't know, because I don't know what schools he applied to besides Harvard. Yeah, it's a lot of factors. That's why he said he probably didn't have the classes he wanted, or maybe for what he was majoring in or wanted to major in. Oh yeah, student loans are horrible for those who have to pay them. They are. You'll be some people been out of college for years, and I'm talking about over a decade, and are still paying on loans from a decade ago. Some people would probably rather be in credit card debt than student loan debt, but I would prefer to be in no debt. Perfect. I like that response, Ariana. You said it's nice to see the vid because folks like to believe that blacks can only get into college due to affirmative action. Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what some of them caucus things are probably saying right now. Oh, he only got in because of affirmative action. No, he got in because of his intelligence and he's a hard worker. See, they only believe that a one-dimensional side of black people that we're lazy and that we just kind of skate through life. Nope. Y'all do that more than we do, especially if you got money. I forgot what school it was. They said that it was more non-white students got accepted in the freshman year this year than any other school. I forgot. It was an Ivy League school. I think, was it Harvard? I forgot what school it was. They said the enrollment for non-white students was higher than white students as far as freshmen go. I said that shows right there that the establishment is changing. All right, y'all, the stream is about to actually cut off, so I just wanted to tell y'all I'm glad y'all was able to tune in with me this Sunday. Next Sunday, I'll be off, so I'll be able to stay on a little bit longer. But I'm glad y'all were able to tune in and watch. Of course, stay tuned for more videos throughout the, well, you might get 2 more videos from me today. I'll talk to y'all in the next one.